Coaches, so you think you want to become a head football coach? Let's talk about it. Stay tuned.
White 72. White 72.
All right, coaches, this is Coach Kothar coming to you again from North Carolina on the 92 Meshgroup channel, your home on YouTube for the air raid offense. And today's video is one that a lot of people have been asking me about, and it's that time of the year that we talk about it. A lot of us have been coordinators and wanted to, or young assistants, and decide that we want to try to become a head coach, and we really don't know how to do it. So today I thought we would talk about it. I've had the opportunity to be a head coach at every level here in North Carolina, and I got my first head coaching job when I was 26, and so I've got a little bit of experience in the process and know a lot of guys who have as well. So I thought what I would do is kind of share with you what it has. Now, this video is going to be a two-part series. Today, we're going to talk about, what to do before you go into the interview and then the interview itself. And then the next video, we'll actually talk about the first 30 days as a head coach and what you can expect and the things that you probably need to focus on. So let's jump into the video and let's see what's going on. So you want to be a head coach and you decided and you're really nervous about it. Well, let me help you out with something. Don't worry, you're not ready. That's right, I said it, you're not ready. Because the things that you don't know about being a head coach, you can't learn until you become a head coach. You'll know enough football. I promise you. If you think that you're ready, you'll know enough football. But the things that you're going to be worried about, there's no way to learn them without doing them. So don't worry yourself about what you're not ready for. Don't question whether or not you're ready because you're not. You think that you know you are, but I promise you, I don't care if you've been an assistant for 15 years. When you become a head coach, you understand that there's going to be things that you never thought you're going to have to deal with. So so just get that out of your mind. It's not a big deal. Like I said, much of what you don't know, you can't do it without being asking one. But here's the thing. Pick up the phone. Don't be afraid to call the people that you trust, your mentors, guys that you've worked with, guys who you're friends with or you went to college with who are head coaches now. Not asking for help is a recipe for failure, and it'll set you up to not be successful. All right, so leading up to the interview, what do you need to do? Well, the first thing you need to do is you need to work on your recommendations. Talk to your principal, talk to your head AD, talk to your head coach. Keep them in the loop. Say, hey, listen, I want to be a head coach. Am I ready? What can I do to get ready? Would you give me a positive recommendation? What are some things you think I need to work on? Talk to people before you get ready for that interview. Get your resume ready. Your resume needs to be clean. And I will tell you, let someone look it over. I thought my resume was great, but then I sent it off to Coach 4 out in California. He runs 8laces.org. And if you haven't had a chance to talk to him or see him on Twitter, check him out because he looked at mine and he basically destroyed it for me. He said, yo, coach, this isn't good. This isn't good. This isn't good. Move this here, move this there. And I'm going to tell you, my resume looks so much better just after letting him glance over it. I mean, and he has a different service. If you just give him everything, he'll write it for you and make it perfect. But let somebody look over your resume. Just don't throw something together. Make it purposeful, concise. Because a lot of times, if it's a good job, these principals and ADs will have 70, 80 guys apply. So it needs to be something that grabs attention right off thing. The other main thing that you need to do is while you're looking for these jobs is do your job. Don't stop doing the things that you're supposed to be doing. Don't stop teaching. Oh, I'm going to be the new head coach over here, so I don't have to do the right things in the building, or I can just show up late because I'm big time. I'm a hot commodity. No, don't ever forget to bloom where you're planted. You never, ever, ever want to burn a bridge. Some of us have made those mistakes, and sometimes you can come back from them, and sometimes you can't. But as a young coach, always do your job and understand that that's going to be your best recommendation. So the next thing you want to do is research the job you're looking at. There's so much, it's so easy to do that. Look at the demographics, go to the state website, look at the test scores, look at these kind of things. What kind of folks go to those schools? Are these the kind of kids that you're used to dealing with? Look at max preps. You can go back, several years and see how the team has done. What are the records? What are the standings? How have they finished? How many points have they scored? How many points have they given up? These are all things that you need to know as you go into this job. And then find out who you know. I'm sure you know somebody who knows somebody at one of these schools. And trust me, I will tell you most of the time when these principals make changes, they have somebody in mind. Very few times do they let somebody go and not have an idea of who they kind of want to hire, or at least ask somebody who do they think. So if you know a guy who's an assistant on staff or somebody who used to work for that principal, or, in North Carolina, we got a great guy, Chris Hughes, that runs CarolinaPreps.com. He knows everybody. And, so you kind of ask him, hey, Chris, do you know what's going on? I'm sure he knows somebody. And so it's really important that you find out who you know in your network to help that work. And that brings me to the next point. Use your network. Ask your contacts about the job. Hey, look, do they have somebody in mind? And look, just because they have somebody in mind doesn't mean don't apply, because you need to get interview experience. My very first head coaching job, when I applied to get interview experience, and I ended up getting the job. Now, I didn't get the job because I was the best football coach that applied. It was just there wasn't a whole lot of guys who applied, and I happened to be an alumni, and I had a decent interview, and the principal decided to hire me. It happens. But you can only get better at the process by taking part in the process. So even if you heard so-and-so's got this job locked up, apply for it, get your name out there, interview, because you never know. These principals go to meetings and they say, I'm thinking about getting a new football coach. You say, well, I interviewed this young kid. He was really, really sharp. We were going to go in this direction, but if you want to go in that direction, talk to him and see what you think. So always, use your network and keep that up. Have a packet, guys. And I can't tell you enough, they don't care about what your offense and defense is. Don't go in there with a playbook, because they're not going to look at it. What kind of things need to be in your packet? Your certifications. Are you a certified teacher? Aren't you? Do you have, CPR certified? Are you a National Federation certified coach? Or, like I did the certified level, the next level up from what they required in our state, those kind of things. Give some examples of your teaching. Put a unit in there. Get a lesson plan at least, so they know that you understand. Because listen, don't ever get it confused. The principal, unless you're in Texas, let me say that, unless you're in Texas, the principal is going to pay you more than the athletic director. So you got to be able to do that job in the building. So put some stuff in there that are examples that you know how to teach. Even if you're a beginning teacher, those kind of things. Put some examples of some academics in there for them to look at. Calendars and schedules, they're all about organization. And we'll get into some of the questions that they're going to ask you in the interview in a little bit. But, have a sample summer calendar. Have a sample spring calendar. Have some sample practice schedules, a couple of different practice schedules for different days of the week. And if you remember the total air raid system, you'll see, you'll see in there that we have, that practice schedule template. Take that, adapt it, and put it in your packet, and you'll be pleased with that. Have some fundraising ideas. Principals and ADs always love it when you can raise money. Okay, so what are some things you're going to do? Are you going to do a lift-a-thon? Are you going to sell cards? Are you going to do the little online thing that a lot of people are doing? What are your fundraising ideas to help, support your program? Have something in there about your vision for academics and eligibility. What are you going to do to support the student athlete? Are you going to have a tutoring program? Are you going to, do grade checks with the teachers? Are you going to work with counselors? What are you going to do for that? Make sure that they understand that you understand the NCAA rules. Whether it's a 2.2, whatever the test score is these days and all that good stuff. Make sure that you have that in your packet so that they know that they're hiring somebody who can help kids get to the next level. And then have something in there about kind of your strength and conditioning policy. Are you going to be a 4-day-a-week guy, 3-day-a-week guy, 5-day-a-week guy? You ain't got to. And just like your offense and defense, most of these principals aren't going to understand, multi-joint lifts and all this other stuff. But, just have an idea of, hey, we're going to be a phased, strength and conditioning program. We're going to incorporate, different types of movements and stuff like that. So have that in there. And then lastly, what are you going to do for recruiting? What is your philosophy? Are you going to spearhead recruiting? Are you going to work with somebody outside the building with recruiting? Are you going to let one of the assistants handle recruiting? Or are you just going to let the kids handle recruiting? Have something in your packet that kind of addresses those things. And I think you're going to put yourself in a good shape to get into that thing. So, all right, you've done all of this. You applied for the job. You got your packet ready. You're ready to go into your interview. Now what's going to happen? Well, what are some of the questions to expect? And like I said, I've interviewed for a bunch of jobs, and these are some of the things that you're going to, hey, what will your former players say about you? What if they were to ask one of the guys who played for you, what would they say about you? Be prepared to answer something like that, and I always tell people this, 4 things that are going to happen if you play for me. Number 1 is you're going to be treated the way that you should be treated. I'm going to treat you like you're mine. Number 2, you're going to look good when you go to the beach because I'm going to make you work out. Number 3, you're going to be able to go to college because I'm going to make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to do in the schoolhouse. And then number 4, you're going to have a fun experience in high school because we're going to make high school football fun. Those are the things that I talk about, and that's what I want my players to say. Hey, coach pushed us hard. He never let us be average, but we really enjoyed playing for him, and that's what you can only hope for when that happens. They're going to ask you to describe a typical practice. How is practice going to look? And so you want to be able to, and this is where you go back and say, well, if you look in your packet, you'll see, so-and-so practice schedule for so-and-so day, and this is what we're doing from here. We're doing mini group work, we're transitioning, so on and so forth. We're going to practice for 2 hours on the dot with stretching, making sure that we honor the kids' time and the parents aren't out there waiting for them, so on and so forth. Another one, this one was tough. Describe a situation where you had to make a tough discipline decision. And if you've not been a head coach or if you haven't had to do something like that, talk about some times where you had to make a decision that people weren't happy with, but you did because you knew it was in your best interest. So be able to answer something like that because principals want to know about that. And the reason why they want to know about that more often than not is because they don't want parents calling them. They want to know that you're going to be fair. Hey, they're going to ask you what you think your biggest weakness is, what your biggest strength is. And I think it's really important. Joe Salas told me this one time. He's like, look, there are certain questions are going to get asked in the interview. So why not write down the answers before you go? Why not prepare yourself just like you would script a play call? Why not know? They're going to ask you what are your biggest weaknesses. So you should have that answer ready for them so that you're not stuttering around and feel shocked. These are things that you could expect to have to answer when you go into that interview if it's a thorough interview process. One of the ones that kind of got me last year was, they asked me when I interviewed for a job, they said, hey, look, I have an upperclassman kid who's been in the program, going on 4 years. He's a good player. And then you got a kid who moved in who's in the 10th grade and they're just as good. How are you going to handle that situation? Are you going to sit the senior who's been loyal to the program because the young kid can play? I mean, listen, the old saying is if a senior and a sophomore are the same good, you play the sophomore. But that's not always a simple answer when you're the head coach. Because that kid's mom might be the one who does all the pregame meals and has been for 3 years. That kid's mom may be the one who helps serve pregame meals or is always there, giving Gatorade. So, they've been loyal to the program. And so they're going to expect some kind of loyalty out of you. And look, and it should always be about production, but it really isn't when you're the head coach. You have to make decisions best for the program. And so what I'm telling you is there's not a right or wrong answer to that, but you got to be prepared for a question like that. Don't let that shock you. Here's one that gets you all the time. What do you think your role in the whole athletic department is? They're going to want to know. Look, and they hold football coaches to different standards than they do other coaches. And in the comments down below, if you don't believe me, you think I'm telling a lie, tell me why I'm lying. But they don't ask the baseball coach if he's going to let his kids play football. They don't do that. They don't ask the basketball coach how he feels about his kids playing football. But they're always going to ask the football coach how he feels about his kids playing other sports. Because, they got AAU baseball, or basketball, and Legion, and Summer League baseball, and all those other things. They're going to want to know how you're going to work with those coaches. And we'll talk about that in video 2 of this series when we talk about what to do in the first 30 days. Now, I'm talking about sitting down with the basketball and baseball coach and talking about the offseason and you got to come to some kind of consensus. They're going to want to know what your recruiting process is. What's your philosophy on that? And then they're going to ask you, typical questions about yourself. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Where'd you go to school? What's your playing experience and things like that. And one of my weaknesses on that deal, and you guys can already tell, is I love to talk. Is sometimes I give them too much. So try to be concise. Don't overwhelm them with information, and know that that's going to come. And then they're going to always ask you that age-old question of why should I hire you? Why are you the best person for this job? And so they're going to want to know right then, how you feel about that and what you're going to do. So after the interview, what do? Hey, debrief yourself. Go sit in the car in the parking lot of the school with a notepad and write down things while it's fresh in your mind. When I had that interview with that school that asked me about the senior and the sophomore, I wrote that down because I was like, I hadn't heard that one in a while. So write down some things that stumped you while it's fresh in your mind so you can go back and look at it, talk to some of your buddies and say, hey, how would you answer that? And the other thing I would say is, hey, go back and talk to your AD and say, hey, what do you think a good answer for this question is? Okay, and that's why it's important that you talk to your principal and your head coach and your AD before you go through this process if you have a good relationship with them. Because I'm telling you, it's never good to hide this, guys. Some of you guys don't want to tell people that you're looking for jobs, but they're going to find out. So just be honest up front and tell them, hey, look, I'm trying to better myself. And if they're against that, then they're not for you anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But go back and talk to your AD, talk to your head coach and say, hey, coach, how would you have answered this question? And see, how that, plays to what you do. And then what I always do is I always send a follow-up email. I email the principal and AD and thank them for the opportunity to come in, and then I'll try to include some key points from the interview that I thought were important just to reinforce them. And if there was anything that I didn't get to say, I like to add that in there. So, these are kind of some things that you have to think about if you want to be a head coach. Like I said, video 2, we'll talk about what happens when you finally get that call and they name you the head coach. What are you going to do in the first 30 days? But listen, I appreciate you guys watching the video. We got a couple of tickets left over for Air Raid Intensive. If you haven't got those yet, got a special on the pre-order for Total Air Raid System 2.0 exclusively on CoachTube. Go to 92meshgroup.com. Check out the coaching resources page in the shop, and it'll take you over to our channel. And we got some other videos that we've added up there for you guys to take a look at. We also got a coaching library now where we've got some books that we would recommend to you that we've read in the past that have been good for us. And I don't know if you didn't listen to me and Coach Salas on our podcast the other day. We talked about reading books and making yourself better. You should always try to do those things too. So hopefully this gives you an idea of what the interview process is like, what you need to do if you want to become a head coach, and as you start looking around, and then, hey, just go in there and look at them and say, all that doesn't matter because I'm just going to spin it to win.
Fight 72. Fight 72.